Welcome to part 4 of the Amenten series on the Real Me podcast. This is turning into a big deal. I'm probably going a little bit overboard, but I want to give you the whole story of the Amenten. I want to give you every detail that I have jotted down in this oracle deck that I've created about the Amenten, about my creation of it, and how it's unique. Now, before I even go into that, I read just a little bit of a book. I read just a section of a book, like a couple pages worth. And what I found when I read that particular book was that I was just so attracted to the writing of it. And I was attracted to the voice that I heard. It was like medium between, well, a male versus a female. It was kind of blending, which is very, that's how I describe reading now, if I'm getting that correct, if I'm assuming correct. I don't know. Like, the assumption is the thought that I've been having, and I don't want to jinx that or anything, like that. I just thought I'd share that in real quick. Okay, so getting into Oompa Loompas. That's the very, very next piece of the Amenten story that we're going to be delving into here. There's the next card in the deck, card number 26. And think of the Oompa Loompas. They were never, ever alone. Were they ever alone? They were always doing things with others. They were always collaborating and doing things with everyone else. That's what they were always doing. They were collaborating. And, that's what, again, so I'm not going to redo that because it goes into the the meaning of it, and I don't want to give you that because I would make so many videos. No, I want to keep it as simple as possible for myself. So the Oompa Loompas, apart from embodying the wrong custom. Now, what is the wrong custom? Well, you can think of microwaves. You can think of a snowy day in the middle of the winter in a countryside, blue light. You're thinking very, very cold, in an icebox kind of thing in winter, and I even say it as an icebox in the snow on a cloudy day out in a field somewhere. Come from Charlie Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Oompa Loompas originate from the Chocolate Factory. Like, you're going to find a lot of real life, real thing references in this. I'm just going to tell you that right now. Well, because I pretended to invite real characters from real movies and TV shows. Throughout this whole series, you're going to find real individuals. So I'm going to kind of talk about and explain here what these things mean. Because they were not made up. I didn't just make up these random individuals and do that. Because I didn't feel the feeling because they were made up. So, yeah. So, I could even invite characters from books to come alive and how I imagine them. Even though you can't do that. Like, oh my gosh, I just realized right now. The book that I'm reading right now, in particular, is a book that is written in a way that I want the characters to be alive. Like, I want to know the characters right now, thinking about it right now. I want to see and understand the characters' perspectives and get to know the characters as real people. Like I just realized that just now. Maybe with the other books that I read, but I don't know, this one feels more like that. And some books are going to feel more like that than others, I feel like, but maybe all of them in their own different ways and their writing styles and how they're written and everything. But anyway, that serves as a vehicle of action to participating in the upkeeping of Willy Wonka's chocolate factory. Like I did, skip over some things in the last episode about the Hunger Games and everything like that. I'm gonna try to not do that now. I'm gonna try to, discuss more things because I want you to understand these things and maybe why I invited them in. I think that I didn't consider that on the last podcast episode. I'm not going back and redoing that. There's no way I'm doing that. But from this point forward, this is my looking at the big picture and moving forward and not getting caught in perfectionism. I will, just explain these real things more as I go throughout this series. So I kind of skipped over a couple steps. I'll try to not do that in future. Whatever I feel is necessary, I will share. So, so these Oompa Loompas were kind of like the Amenten officials I was talking about, the Amenten staff. They kept up the chocolate factory. Like they kept this up, they maintained it, and did all of this. They made the chocolate, tread the green grasses up into slates, created the candy mountains, maintained the inventions, and ultimately steered the ship for the factory. They were the ones that kept the factory going. Just like the factory is like an Amenten. It had to keep going. Like any system, like a government has to keep going. Like all these systems that have to keep in an efficient way, like a railroad. Like, everything with things has to be efficient. And everyone has to do their part to play and keep the thing going. That's what an Amenten is. So it's a pretty realistic thing if you think about it, with all the real aspects of life. It is based very much around that, yet it is this made up thing in my mind that I'm coming to understand some nuance with right now that I did not realize at the time. Because I'm older and I would not be able to make this realistic and easy to understand, hopefully, if I was younger. Like, I would not have the awareness and skill to be able to articulate it in the way that I'm doing now. The divine timing is everything. And I'm so, fortunate for that I can articulate these things very well, in my opinion. So, I'm just going to say it very well. I'm just going to say it out there. That's my censoring, again, for the audience. So, in 2012, which was the year that I saw Charlie in the Chocolate Factory for the first time. I saw the movie at the end of second grade. The original movie from the 70s, and then I saw the brand new movie with Johnny Depp. I saw that movie with Johnny Depp, and if you've ever seen that, and when I saw it, I was like, this is not what I expected. I wanted the original version. I don't want this version. But anyway, 2012, the Oompa Loompas from Oompa Land, which was a very dangerous place consisting of snoz, waggers, and vernicious comeds. I can't even go into that. Came to the Amenten in order to support the functions of that. They were there to help the Amenten. They served as the serve givers, the grease makers, and the hooligan lockers. They made their way into many important roles at the Amenten. This was something I did not consider at the time when I was doing it back in, I don't know what I pretended to advise in 2012, 2014 even, I was still doing it. And I'll go into that in just a second. I don't want to get ahead of myself here. They made their way into many important rules, or roles at the Amenten, whatever. They also took activity classes with Julia Eskenroll, or me, like I pretended to teach these Oompa Loompas. Like whenever I refer to these characters, just know it's me. I may very well forget to say that it's me. Just know that because I did not write this Oracle deck saying I did this, I did that. Because then it wouldn't be, like, it would just be so personal, there would be no point to an Oracle deck, and I didn't think to do that anyway, so if I forget, know that I'm talking about myself, okay? So I'm not gonna keep it in my mind, like, oh, I have to remember to mention, it's like, yeah. Um, so, so they also took classes. They were also students. Well, no, like, not official classes, but like kind of like preschool, daycare type classes, like half the day, a couple hours, 3 hours, like those types of classes, and they did these little activities which were like kid activities. Like, for example, coming up with an animal, or coming up with a holiday tradition that they celebrate, and where they like these little things that I did, and I have some video evidence of that on probably my other channels, and this one. I don't want to put all these links to these videos underneath this description, so you're going to have to trust me. The videos are on there. If you do want to see them, don't judge me. Again, censoring. But anyway, there would be like 1,000 videos to put in the description. I am not spending my time and energy putting all those links to everything I talk about. Nope, way too exhausting. Not going to do it. So, all right. So, where they wrote stories, did group work. Well, like, these are the things they did. They work well in group, like things that you do in elementary school, basically. This is what they did. And I noticed that when I pretended to teach, I taught in a way that was, the whole experience of the, Amenten, I was in alignment with the age of the people that I was teaching. Like, the students grew along with me. Like, when I was young, I taught these skills, these, second grade skills or whatever, in a way that second graders would understand. When I was 16, I taught the things that I understood from a adolescent perspective to what I pretended to be adolescence. So because that's what I know at the time. I mean, isn't that natural to do if you're pretending to teach? That should be natural to do. So that's what I want to say. You can't, so fun when you kids pretend to be adults. It's just so cute. It's not the real thing, though. Just be yourself. Just be a kid. So anyway, okay, so, where they wrote stories, did group work, and gained rewards where they learned valuable skills, especially in the fall of 2014. These skills are reminiscent of what children learn in elementary school, such as providing evidence and information about certain subjects and issues, such as, there's a video on this. My favorite animal is blank, blank, blank. Don't you remember in elementary school where you had to like finish the sentence, and the teacher says my worst fear is dot dot dot, and you just filled it in, but they had to explain why, and not in very much detail. It was very very superficial at the time. Like, it was all superficial stuff. I was very much in the superficial, because that's what you're like as a kid. It's very superficial. Like, this was very superficial, and now I am explaining it as if it is a deep thing because I am older and I think more deeply about things now, and I take this idea that I was little and make it so that it makes it legitimate. It's just not a made up thing, but I'm explaining it here as if it was a deep, real thing. So, okay. So, assignment where they had to provide detailed information on why they favor a certain animal, etc. These skills help strengthen their intellectual third house learning skills in very positive ways. Like, the third house is elementary school. It's primary education. It's what you learn in Not grade school. Good grief, I want to correct that. Grade school is grades 1 through 12, because there's 10th grade, there's 11th grade, there's 12th grade. Those are grades. That means it is grade school. So I want to correct that. All through, from K to 12 is grade school. I just want to, I'm not going to repeat that again. But so anyway, and the third house is that, whereas the ninth house is higher education, all those kind of things like that. So moving on. Let's talk about, I shared, I made a clip on my YouTube channel recently. Like every day I come out with clips that I schedule at the beginning of the month. One of them was called The Deep Cuttings, and it was from me when it was in 2017 that I filmed that video, and I said keep away and, whatever, and you can go check that out on my channel. But I want to talk about the cuttings. And the message is danger. Like when you hear cuttings, you think of like something so dangerous and something so, ooh, I better, stay away from that, because it just, that's how it sounds. Okay. So the cuttings, I say, are a sinister and sinisterous place filled with all kinds of bombast and knives. Like there's knives. Like I think I based this around a couple things. Based this around when I was watching Thomas and Friends, the quarry in Thomas and Friends, where Spencer, one engine in one episode of Thomas and Friends, or a movie or something like that, I think it was Here of the Rails, got under a coal hopper and then got his hopper filled with coal and etc. And that's probably what I based it upon. I think also Keeping Up Appearances, based it off of that. When it comes to Emmett hitting his head in the wall and getting stuck in the attic, and I think that that's also an idea that I based this around. But so there's knives in the cuttings. It is legend that a streamlined engine, I explain it here. I get ahead of myself in these things. Okay, I'm not going to get ahead of myself again. Like I found that in the previous episodes, I'm going to try to stick to what I've written because I explain it. So I will try not to get ahead of myself and explain things as they come up when I do it. I don't want to regurgitate the same information over again. So I'll take note of that. So, but I will say it here. So, a streamlined engine, also known as Spencer, was pushed into a coal hopper and was pushed, forced, and overwhelmed by men of coal coming down and blocking his funnel and coal tank. Like it blocked the whole thing, and he had to go to the steamworks for it, and he was pushed by other engines, felt embarrassed by that. Again, I got ahead of myself. He had to go to the Sodor. It's okay if I get ahead of myself. I'm telling you what I want to tell you in the moment, and I wrote it down. Like I'm going to regurgitate that information just to review and refresh you with what I said. I think that's very important. So, one perspective then another. He had to go to the Sodor Steamworks to get fixed. He was pushed by an engine and was highly embarrassed by that. What matters here is what lies inside the coal hopper that caused Spencer that pain. Want another one? Well, here it is. Emmett was forced up into the attack cuttings of a country's small micro apartment in the English countryside. This episode of Keeping Up Appearances was the episode that I watched over and over and over again. It's called Please Mind Your Head. And that episode is so good. In particular, it's a standout to me. Besides the Angel Gabriel Boy, that's such a funny one. So many good things in that one too. But they had Richard and Emmett had a apartment that they rented out, which was like a mansion, but they rented out like a sub apartment, and they got into this house, which was very, very small. Richard couldn't handle. Richard's Hyacinth's husband couldn't handle how small it is, and you were complaining about how big it was and how expensive it was to afford. Like Richard is the one concerned about prices. Hyacinth isn't really. So, so it's the parrot in the English countryside. He had lemonade, and it was very icy cold, giving away details of that. So, because of the icy cold lemonade, he jumped up and rammed his head into the nearby wall, pushing his head in the cuttings with the cobwebs. Like there were cobwebs in that attic. Hyacinth came up and informed him that a very sharp knife would come and cut him free. Like when I said this, was she was gonna get a knife to cut him free from being stuck up in there. I should have explained that more clearly. And ultimately save him from that current circumstance. There are cobwebs, knives, sharp edges, and possibly bats in the cuttings. So, moral of the story is keep away from the cuttings. Okay, so now we're going back to the beginning again. Cabin on Wheels. Cabin on Wheels. I previewed this in the first part of this. So the first part of this whole series was a preview. Now we're getting into the real meat of it, like understanding the planet Pluto and what it means before getting into a whole video about Pluto in the sign. Just these are separate videos. Like, you know how this is the same thing as like I'm currently doing videos on the Jupiter signs. Where one video is just introducing Jupiter, the others are the series. Like this is the same thing as that. So, Cabin on Wheels. The Cabin on Wheels is a marketplace for stolen items, or it could be where Julia Esconroll began her household journey. This is where she began. She started on a cabin on wheels, basically. She started with this kind of thing where she and her husband were on a cabin on wheels. And when I was young, I watched YouTube videos about it with what was available on YouTube at the time. It was very, very young at the time. You're thinking 2011, 2012, something like that. Even a little bit before then, I don't know. Somewhere around there. And this heart, I was very interested in this. I had a desire to, like, this vision of having a cabin on wheels when I became a teenager. And I mentioned that to a kid in my third grade class, and who said, that's many years from now. You're thinking too far ahead, is the message I got from that. But so anyway, I had that big plan. Of course, that didn't pan out. That didn't pan out exactly because life had other plans. Well, you cannot plan that far ahead because life is going to be different. You're going to have different values, all those kind of things. Like I may say I may still be doing this by my first Saturn return, but who knows where I will be in 2033 when that happens. So, began her household journey. She started with the dream of having a cabin on wheels. I started with that dream. I had that dream, which turned into a reality. It became clear to Julia Esconroll that she was on the fast track to success. It's all about the material and monetary possessions for her. She's very, very materialistic. She's a Leo, very, materialistic. Leos are known to be very drawn to expensive items, and they pay a lot of money on these things. Like Leo is a very materialistic sign. You could say it's the earth air, but really it's the earth fire, but it's really the water fire, since Leo is so connected to emotion in the heart. So, however, modesty is a virtue. Modesty, like living on a cabin on wheels, is modest. The cabin contained a living room, a small kitchen, and bunk beds just above the main floor. It all comes down to the Romanescus and the regulars who come in to visit her in the hour. So people would come, and then she would entertain and put on, make food and all that kind of stuff, and sit on the couch and all that kind of thing. So you can talk about the whole routine of waking up in the morning, making breakfast, moving from location to location without losing hairs, without losing patience. It becomes a huge reward when you finally settle somewhere. When you finally, so like there's something so rewarding about just you're moving around all the time, to this place, to that place. Like there's something about settling down in one place. It gives you security. It gives you comfort. It gives you, okay, we're settling down. Um, we're making solid ground here. And then you feel more secure inside yourself and more peace within inside yourself because you settled down. Dinner is usually traditional English, but it can vary depending upon various factors, such as a mochi influence or French cuisine. Like mochi, I mean, like I got it from like a movie about the Queen of England, Queen something or other that I saw in 2021, Thanksgiving Day 2021. I remember. Where there was like somebody from India that she was, in love with, and she was there when she passed away, and then she was forever drawn to India and foreign cultures, things like that. So you see, this took place at a time when Joka wasn't even a country. Joka had not even been developed yet as a nation. It took 5 solid years from 1985 to 1990 for Joka to get started as a country. That's the beginning stage of Joka's history. Going on with that. Forming, and I don't want to hear comments about that because I explained that in part 1. Like, okay, I'm not going to be doing that all the time. I'm not going to be saying go back and watch part 1, go back and watch this part. You're probably wondering what does that mean. There's going to be so many things like that in this video, in the following videos. I can't do that all the time. So, okay, I'll answer questions in the comments, but I'm not going to do that all the time. I don't consider those questions as critical. You can ask questions, and I will be willing to answer them, but I'm just not going to do that at the time, in this video. Because it's just like Pam Gregory making astrology videos and explaining things from an elementary level, like the sun in astrology means this, when really, that just takes away from the flow of her doing her videos, for instance. It's like a lot of astrologers on YouTube. It's kind of the same thing. So, forming its shape, scope, culture, and cuisine. It is a very neat life indeed to have a cabin on wheels. Okay. Moving on to Lubembe Grugnier's nest. I'm not going to take a whole lot of time with this because I don't have a proper image of this in my mind. Let's talk about the idea of a nest, first of all. It's often a place where you are in the secure blankets of your familiar surroundings, passing you autumn by. So when you're in these, very, very familiar surroundings, it becomes very, very comfortable. Like it's a nest, like the bird inside of a nest feels very, very comfortable because it was born there, it was raised there. There's something about it that's so nice. You can call it in by going into the gamucided places of the world. In Lubembe Grugnier's world, the nest is where she birthed and raised her family, from small chickling children to responsible adults that they are now. She cooked the meals, shopped the shops, and brought home the bacon at the end of the day, just like you provide for your family. Putting her up her feet only until after all the work is done. Like I picture that image of like a housewife working, all this work and then just sitting in the living room and putting their feet up, like, and I want to say that you only feel rest and relaxation only if you have actually worked. There's a quote from Saguru that was like, you don't know rest until you actually work and experience, oh, I'm not working. Like, experience not producing, not doing, and you experience contentment and serenity and relaxation in that respect. So she had a lot of loyalty towards her family and clan and wanted only the best for them. This is indeed an admirable quality. Let us talk about, let's hone in on Lubembe Bellbook's Masters of Dance School. This was her dance school that she came up with. Lubembe Bellbook is a crushitude Okay, I'm going to respect my creativity. I mentioned later who believes discipline is the name of the game. Like, you're thinking the classic dance teachers, the Dr. Custom, the ones that are very, very classically, trained, like, the women who are kind of heavy set in their way and all this kind of things are very well spoken, like believing, or just, golfy women, or, very well put together women. I said women, I meant women. I believe in discipline as the name of the game when it comes to dancing. As much as it is an art form, it is a discipline. It does require a lot of technique and a lot of um, strengthening your skills, but it cannot be perfect. Maybe dancing cannot be a perfect thing. So it is very, and I need Abby Lynn Miller to hear me on that. So she is very proud in her undulous and has a crush on a major Victorian man. So crush on this man in her life. This can come as a shock to the modern zingy Doolin persona that can really come to handle it all in the handy. She developed the dance school due to auditions and the chastisement of the mules in 1989. There was a mule festival. The mules were very rambunctious, very rabid, very ravish, and there was this festival where there were people dancing, and then she developed that into, well, let's invite them over to her dancing school, and the whole thing got started from there in that year, the year that the Berlin Wall fell down, and the year of the Saturn-Neptune conjunction in Capricorn. So she put on famous pieces of art in the many years of the dance studio, like many pieces of art. She wanted to really vary it with her art. That's what she wanted to do. Very much about that. I'm very creative with the music, the idea for the piece, the choreography, the story that goes along with the piece. Like dancing is not just perfect legs, perfect feet, like all those things. Like I think that Abby Lynn Miller kind of gets caught up in that a little bit sometimes. It is about the narrative of what story that you're telling when you're performing on stage. It's about the how you portray that story. That's what it is through movement. And it's both and here, both the technique and that. So, a couple of her famous performances of all time include On the Swan Lake, which I kind of based that off of classic, like a very classical piece, like you're thinking typical edition kind of thing like that. Very very classic dancing. Very graceful, very flowing, like on this one, like you're flowing. Put on in May of 2000, way back when. Swans can be creatures of good luck in the minds of Labimbi Bellbook. She believes that. Not me, she does. Whose real name is Julie Frannings. Don't get that confused with Labimbi Talea talk. Julie Frannings. I had to differentiate those out. The other famous performance was In the Dragon's Den. Ooh, this one's very interesting. Done in February 2002, which was about a dragon who happened to reside in its helpless place, who went off on a mission to destroy Terragovia, a magical mystical land filled with wizards. These dancing performances and competition entries were award-winning. She is known for putting on all these grand performances that win awards at competitions. Like she is very well known, just like Abby Lou Miller is, and a lot of those studios in California and the West Coast are for their dance performances. Lindsay Belbuck had a reputation to maintain. A reputation to maintain in dancing. Like she really, took it seriously with what she, with her expectations and her the quality of her dancers and the quality that she wanted to put forth on stage with what she wanted to present, training her dancers to the utmost with top-notch instructions, like really training them and training them very hard and to be disciplined and to be the best that they can be. There's something about training yourself into being the best that they can be. Having lofty goals, not perfectionism. Not perfectionism. Like I will say, Adam Ellenbus, the astrologer, made a video about perfectionism and why it's a good thing. And his point was, well, we need perfectionism in order to strive for something to make life meaningful, because we need to strive for those things, like something a higher ideal to strive for. Okay, that's called a goal. Okay, that's not perfectionism. Those are called goals. Perfectionism is a negative cycle of very, very compulsive and very obsessive over perfecting certain things, getting things absolutely right, not moving on until it is. Like OCD is an example of that, because rituals and everything like that. So you do not get perfectionism confused with improvement, making things better, and goals. Improvement and goals, very valid. His points, so valid, but it's not perfectionism. Not perfectionism. So, okay, so the studio won many gold stars in its days and is famous ever still. It's famous, then famous now. Okay, so now I want to talk about Labimbi Grois now, the founder of the whole Amentens, and one of the things that she was very, very famous for doing her Amenten, and that was something called her pageantry ethos. And this was all about creativity. Like, the message here is be creative, and you're going to find out why. Labimbi Grois is a high-powered VIP for many reasons. She is the founder of it all. She was the one who originally began the Amentens in the first place. She was the founder of the whole system. She also had an exclusive club called the Pageantry Ethos. E-T-H I-E-S-H. So when you hear those old videos of me pretending to do my Amenten, you're going to probably, if you watch these videos, and you watch all the pretend videos that I have lurking around on my channels and my accounts, you're probably going to have a better understanding of what I did when I was little, the Amenten, idea and the concepts that I came up with, and the words that I came up with, and how I operated it. Like, if you watch these videos, and if you go back and watch all those pretend videos that I did, maybe I'll make a playlist of those sometime in the future, that I'll link below or something, I don't know. But if you go back and watch those videos, then you're going to have a better understanding and maybe an appreciation of me, what I did when I was little. Like, I'm taking something, again, that I was little and making it legitimate now. So, a pageantry ethos, where women wearing pageant dresses present themselves in top high-form fashion. Like, they wore pageant dresses, but they weren't pageants. Whatever the role of pageants is, I don't want to define what that is. They also put on stage performances where they dance, where they perform. Like, you're thinking, I picture them having, like, pink dresses, and, the picture of the image that I get for this card is, like, pink dresses, and they're having flowers and sort of circling around, and then there's, like, 1920s type music playing, and then they're all, dancing around. Like, that's the image that I get with this. The high top performances that they have put on are Spice and Peppers and the Pink Daffodils. Spice and Peppers is mainly about peppers who were too spicy to be hot, like, too hot to handle, kind of thing. The Pink Daffodils performance is about flowers who were jealous of the trees. Probably because the trees are taller and, for whatever reason. But the flowers are so beautiful, so why would they be? The pageantry ethos performance were award-winning. They're very, very known for being award-winning performances. Now, they go on tour. They go on tour to different places, to different locations, to different theaters, to different performances, and on ships, like cruises, like the QE2, for instance, and many other famous cruises with many lavish food and decor. Like these big parties would go on where they would perform in front of these people and do all this with its marvelous surroundings. It truly is living the life when being part of the pageant tour aviation. And I will say that for the year they perform, and then in September, like mid-September, they come back to Julia Eskin Rule's Amenten and have a homecoming where they perform their best dances or something like that there, and then they entertain the crowd back where they began. So, okay. So, customs. I've kind of already explained this before, but I'm going to go into this again. Customs make life meaningful to you. Customs are an enema of all things, whatever. Enema. Don't think of the unpleasant. I don't know why I put that in there, because you're thinking of the unpleasant thing that I had to deal with when I was in the hospital. December of last year. It was not a pleasant experience. But so anyway, they clear out the storage for the next adventure to occur. They are so it's like being present to the moment, but also fantasizing things. They are made of anything and everything. Like, you can make anything and everything a custom based off of the weather, the food, what the person is saying, the things that they say. All these things, experiences that you experience. And let's say you experience it and you have another fantasy of something else, and you have all the food and food and people, whatever for that. So it's kind of, like that, like experiencing and you fantasize something related to that after the fact or during it. It's made up of anything and everything. Like, you can make anything and everything a custom. Like, customs are occasions that you put names to, that you call a custom. Like, all customs have names, like customs, like traditions. And this is how they differentiate from the customs that I define. Everybody makes customs. Everybody experiences things, and things, people remind them of things, and they fantasize about other occasions. Like, that's what a custom is. That's how I define it. It's very, very simple and very reasonable to understand. It takes a circumstance with all its elements to come together to form a custom. As I've said before, it takes food, smells, weather, certain people, and other circumstances they remind you of to form a custom. Everyone has a custom, and customs are created all the time by all of us, yet we don't recognize that we do indeed create this enigma of all sorts. Customs can also include imagery and music as well. Music, really, really huge for customs. I'm going to tell you that right now. Okay, moving on. Okay, another made-up word. Secunges. Secunges. S-C-U, and it highlighted it wrong, obviously. Secunges. S-C-U. I used the word selective a lot when I was doing this, and I used secunges a lot when I did this. S-E-C-U-N-G-A-E-S. The message is establish your boundaries. Let's explore what is a secunge. Any secunge needs a good range check. A jerk in the right direction that can annihilate the fringed creatures of the Sicel parties. It takes all of the greats to draw the lines in the sand and say, no, not necessary. Like, this is, saying a secunge is like a boundary. And this is similar to another term that I think that I wrote in here that I'm going to find later on, either in this video or in the series. That's more of having authority with boundaries. But so anyway, no, not necessary. Like we're cutting this out. This is a boundary. Like, we're saying this is my secunge. This is my boundary to this, and I'm not allowing this to interfere with my life, or not allowing this relationships to go south, or whatever. It's just about the power of saying those powerful words, such as one of them I will be discussing, hopefully, and creating all the scenarios and craters in the earth. The boundaries of the Secunge's synagogues were Hyen for the rankers, but it can also be the Grappling and the Mighty Eagle forces. This is quite questionably one of the most important signatures to receive as a card in the Alanonymies with all of all the things to come about in your life. Sekunges are boundaries. Following this is the word that I was referring to. The word is, and I'm going to say it with authority. This is how you say it. You say intensen pine, it's like in Harry Potter when you're uttering a spell. It's like in Harry Potter when you say, Expelliarmus, or the one that I'm thinking of is Wingardium Leviosa. Like, it's very, very authoritative. Like, you're saying it with authority. You're meant to say it with authority. You're meant to say this word in particular with authority. If you say like intensify, it's meaningless. Like, if you don't dumb down the Amenten, don't casually refer to it as colloquial, like say it in an unsure way, like Amenten, no. Like, that is no. You have to be strong and confident when you're talking about anything involving the Amenten, especially this word. Intensen pine is a powerful phrase that alerts everyone in the room that you have made your point known. Like, we could totally use this phrase when we want to get our point across, and nobody's, let's say, nobody's understanding our point, and everybody's talking, and everybody's doing all this, and we suddenly shout, intensen pine, and it gets everybody's attention. Like, what did you just say? And I have authority over what I said, and darn it, I'm going to do everything I can to get my point across. And that you expect people to do exactly as you say. When you say this word, it like turns everybody on. Like, you mean business. You want everybody to follow your rules and do exactly as you say. No ifs, ands, or buts. No exceptions. If an Amenten leader says intensen pine, you have to do what they say, and when they say it. It's like you're saying you will do what I say when I say it, but a shortened version of that is saying intensen pine. Like, use that. I would really encourage you to use that if you're watching this. So I have to do with what they say. Probably a lot of you will be watching this way later in the future when my channel grows. But you'll come across this video and wonder about it and watch it, and I'll see a lot of comments, and there'll be a lot of views, and that's what will happen in the future. And I plan to be on YouTube up until I get to that point. I'm in it for the long game. You have to do what they say when they say it. They want it done. They want whatever they say done. They will stop at nothing to have it checked off the bucket list. Okay. So, it is just a word, I realize that. But it is a word of power. And when an Amenten leader says it, they mean business, and the thing will happen that they're saying that they want to happen, and when it happens. Like, it will happen. There is a guarantee that it will happen. Because that's the whole point of the word. Otherwise, if you can easily just go against the word, like, oh, it's just a word, and it's pointless. Like, no. That defeats the power of the word itself. Don't defeat the power of this word. So it is the ultimate ultimatum. It is an ultimatum. That's what it is. It's an ultimatum. It's like the final straw. Like, I'm giving you an ultimatum. You better do this or else. That kind of thing like that. It can be not. No, it can't. Don't use this word lightly. Don't take it lightly. Take it as serious business. For once you say it, it is your word, and you're tied to what you told others to do for you. So it is your word. Like, you claimed it. You made the authority to and when you say it, it's kind of like you can't take it back. It's like you say it, and they're gonna do what in the Amenten. You say the word, and then they just do what they're told because they're trained into what, like a protocol, like a machine, like a dog is trained to sit and eat or whatever. Like, these people are trained to just do exactly what they're saying when they say it, or agree, or whatever the action is when they say it. Like they're trained into this, like dogs or robots to do this. Okay. Let's talk about Amenten Cleaning Day. This is a day that comes every single month. Every month, a cleaning day. Probably the 20th, probably, I don't know when. This is a monthly endeavor in which the Boltez can be made in their creations now. This is the time to organize the Amentens and the Amenten headquarters into an alumni state, not an alumni sleep. So making it very, very precise, very cleaned up, like making the Amenten headquarters. Like, people from the Amentens have to contribute to the Amenten headquarters and help out. So the time is for people in the realm of the Amentens to participate in organizing it into something very orderly. Indeed, it has to be very, very orderly. This can greatly increase the amount of people to come to the Amenten realm because it leaves more than a positive impression. Like, it's like, when you're, maintaining something and you want it to make a positive impression on others. Like, when somebody comes to your house, you clean up, that house in order for, that person to get a good impression of you, or if you're entertaining them, if you're putting on a show for them, or catering to them, or being a customer to them, or providing them hospitality in your home, you would clean up. You would, organize and make everything very neat and tidy. This can greatly increase the amount of people to come to the Amenten realm because it leaves more of a positive impression. Very, very important. I think I already said that. This can really bode well for the Amenten realm to the end of time. Organizing is truly the gift that keeps on giving, isn't it? You can organize. I think Virgo believes it. This is a very Virgo card. I will say, Virgos, you're going to want to hear me on this. So, all the papers and files need to be put in a certain place. All the chairs and tables should be put in the proper place for the events in the big rooms of the Amenten headquarters, like speeches, lectures, and presentations. In general, it is vital that the Amenten realms remains clean and organized. Very, very simple to understand. Let's talk about kind of the big point of the Amenten of how you welcome a guest and the whole thing behind welcoming a guest to the Amenten. I want to delve kind of deep into this. This will probably be a longer thing to talk about because it's just so major for the Amenten. So bear with me on this. Welcoming a guest to the Amenten is not a simple lickety-split matter that isn't a big deal. Like, you don't want to invite guests and just not have it be a big deal. You want to be emotionally and mentally invested. Like, I'm in love with this person. I'm attracted to this person. I want them there. On the contrary, it's a huge deal to invite someone to the Amenten. Very, very huge deal. It is a highly special event when they arrive there. Oh, I need to get rid of that word because I repeated that. Okay, I'll go back and proofread it. It takes many welcoming celebrations, such as having a meal with the person. That's one of the celebrations that you can look away, having a meal with the person and eating their favorite foods. And I personally like most every food, so I'm totally fine with it. Could be Middle Eastern, could be Italian, could be Asian, whatever. I'll like it probably. except if it's like eggs, something rather like that. I don't know. Or cottage cheese, or whatever. I don't like cottage cheese. I just, and I don't like drinking milk. Also, like, milk is gross. And hopefully, when I go up to a Mayo clinic, this is kind of a personal detail. In mid-April, I will not have to eat foods that, I don't want to ruin your appetite here, that are unpleasant. So I'm really, really hoping that it will be a more easy experience than that hospital experience I experienced at the beginning of this year. So anyway, welcoming eating their favorite foods, events where people watch their favorite movies and TV shows, and raising their glasses at the celebration where the Amenten guests turn into Amenten people. Like, so they come and they're Amenten guests, and then there's a celebration that happens, with a big, audience and all those kind of things. And there's like music playing, and then there's this song, raise your glasses to the joy, and everybody's raising their glasses up into the sky, up into the, raising it above their heads, and they're kind of giving a cheer and a glass, and to the joy of them graduating from becoming just an Amenten guest to part of the Amenten. So that's what it means. Okay. There's a toast which celebrates the rite of passage from Amenten guest to Amenten person. That's exactly what it is. There is music that is used to honor the Amenten guest. The Amenten later attributes to that specific guest. So what they like to, but what the Amenten later is reminded of them of singing, like music that reminds them of them, music that thinks of them, music that they associate with them, that is expressing and not expressing them. This can include music if they sing and have created musical albums, such as a lot of them are, artists, so they would play their own songs, but if they're not, they come up with other existing songs, or Julie asked I would come up with my own songs, and ways that remind me of them, to be able to do that, to be able to carry that out. That's all I can say about that. So then, of course, the music to honor them would be their own music. The resemblances that the Amenten leader compares from the music to the guest can be quite random at times. And this is a very, very big thing with Amentens. A lot of it is random. A lot of the things, activities are random. Like, there's random things that, what does that mean? That doesn't make sense. But, it makes sense in my mind because I'm the Amenten leader and I associated this to this person, like these associations that form, and the Amenten later once has kind of projected that onto the guest. Like, this is what I perceive you as being when it comes to the songs that you remind me of, that you make me think of when I think of you. And so it's kind of a projection from the Amenten guest, like, like, not the songs as much as they're into, but the songs that they're into, as it evolved, it became more about the guests and less about the Amenten later. So that is a lesson for Julia Eskenrule to learn with her Aquarius North Node. Less about yourself, more about others. To balance that out, of course. So, okay. So, quite random at times, but there is a divine reason why music is associated with the guest in particular. It is meant to be. Okay. This is a custom of the Amentens. This is a custom that I think that I want to discuss somewhat. I'm on card number 37 now, so we're kind of getting close to the end, but approaching it. And what time is it? All this kind of things like that. I think I can do this, maybe 2 of these tonight. I don't know. Okay. So, the end of Summer Spring Parade. Okay, I'm gonna I'm going to go for kind of a longer time on this one, so this may be a longer episode, only because I'm feeling so incredibly in it right now. So this may be a longer one because I still have. You'll be amazed at how much energy that I have doing this. So it will be longer than the other episodes probably. So just know that. Because I don't want to have to go in and edit and then immediately do the next thing. I want to save myself as much editing and as much getting into Cyberlink, which I use for editing, as much as possible because I really like doing these videos, but I don't like using it. It's just I have to put the image in. I have to make sure that that the audio doesn't cut off, and it's all this thing. I want to do that as less as possible, as less as I can do it. So I'll make longer videos so that I won't have to make more videos and have to deal with that. Okay, as much. So the end of summer spring parade. Or the summer march. SUMMA, the summer steps. Let's read about it. It's very, very short. This parade, which occurs on September the 20th, is a celebration of the changing of the seasons from summer to fall, yet it's called spring. It's so weird. It's like immediately I think of the Lord of Summer, which was a very, very minor character who we saw very, very just glimpses of her, barely any lines at all in Tinkerbell. The Lord of Summer. Is it spring? Is it summer? Is it fall? I associate this with the Lord of Summer in Tinkerbell. It also includes several or many elements of spring, such as spring clothes and candy. Like it's a parade, like where you throw candy and there's just floats and I don't know this I'll just call them exhibits that go by a parade. It's a celebration of Tinkerbell and the summer custom, which encapsulates Tinkerbell quite well. It is set in the woods on a pathway with music and parade exhibits. As I say, it's certainly a grand celebration, very, very grand. I did have a teacher in high school, in English. She taught English, but I had her for Intro to Theater, who was actually born in September 20th. So that's how I had the custom all together, and then she, completed it. She was the final piece of the puzzle to it, where her custom and her birthday put it all together. And so it makes total sense now. It's a synchronicity. Like these things that come together are synchronicities. I don't know what Amenten word that I don't know if I came up with that yet, but I'll call it that for now. Following that is the summer steps. I'm going to go into a little bit more depth about this. The summer steps are a grandeur faced away from stablisms. This can be a regular vantage point for the masses, but it is all really reality to how you look at it. In the Lost Treasure edition, so we're talking about the Lost Treasure in Tinkerbell now. That particular movie where she has a moonstone, she breaks the moonstone, has to go to a faraway island to find it, and there's this, play where there's this song like, when you're alone, but not alone, you will find help in an arch of stone. And it's this whole song which gives clues as to where to find the the moonstone, but not exactly. Like it had all these things, and I'm going to get into it a little bit. And she rides up in a balloon or whatever that she does. She was entrusted to look after a precious moonstone, but with a fight with Terrence, which is Lost Fairy Pixie Hollow, the sculptor that the moonstone broke, and the moonstone broke. Okay. I need to go in and fix that also. Tinkerbell was then in a position to go to a lost island to find a replacement. As she went about this island, she stepped onto rocks in the water. The summit steps are like from one stepping stone to another. Like, you know how with stepping stone you step from one thing to another. It's kind of like this. One step after another in order to get her to planned destination, which is the cavern to find the magic mirror to make her wish. The summit steps were sure unuseful because they played a part in getting Tinkerbell from one place to another. Like the summit steps are the stepping stones that she stepped on in the water. That's what the summit steps are. That's what I'm referring to. That makes them count, no matter how small they are in actuality. The story goes that Blaze, a bug that followed her on her journey, was buzzing in her ear, and she wished that she could be quiet for one moment, and that was her wish. Like they made they made like the mirror. Somebody had also already made the two wishes, and so Tinkerbell made the final and third wish, and so she was about to wish for something very, very serious, very meaningful to her. But then Blaze was buzzing, and she impulsively wished for him to stop buzzing and be quiet. And the mirror shut off, the light shut off, and oh no, I made my wish, and that was the wish, and I lost my opportunity to make that perfect wish. So then she realized that was her wish, and she just wasted the third wish on something that was said on impulse instead of being thought out. Terrence comes, they escape against rats, that's how the story goes. Rats chase them, and Terrence eventually comes, and they resolve their differences or whatever. And then they went home on a balloon together. And they had the celebration with the moonstone, and all was good. Now, a very, very big part of how guests are honored at an Amenten is a resemblance prayer. The word resemblance means two things similar to another. Like a pasta that resembles another pasta, for instance. That's where I first heard the word back in 2014. When something resembles something, it's very, very similar. And this is very, very important. And the message is look at the similarities, but also the differences. It's like a Venn diagram. You know how in the middle you come up with how they're similar, and then apart from that you look at how they're different. So resemblance prayers or celebrations are high in the charts. High up in the charts is a metaphor I use, expression I use a lot, and you're going to hear it a lot in my videos. Like when I refer to something up in the charts, like serious business, it's like very, very famous and very popular and very just very, very, well thought of and very infamous. Like I'm going to use that expression a lot, and that's what makes me very unique. It's one of the things about me, and I'm not going to make a whole podcast episode of that because I can't do it over just a word that I use. So they are when two people who bear similarities to each other that the Amenten leader determines as being similar come together and are celebrated for their similarities, but also secondary to that, their differences. Like it's a prayer. Like it's almost like a wedding. You know how at a wedding the bride and the groom come together, and there's a minister that's you are gathered in holy matrimony. Like it's like that with people sitting in the audience, and then there's somebody who acts as a minister or priest, and then the two are together, and the priest the mental leader acknowledges the similarities and the differences and honors what makes them similar, what they think makes them similar. Okay. So this can turn on the pipeliners to the right channels in order to understand how the ways of the world works. The similarities are in terms of things like facial features, like the two having very similar faces, clothes, they wear similar clothes, voices, how they talk, very, very huge. Or even, it could also be their profession, it could also be what they do that's, important. Mannerisms, very, very huge, and other similarities are brought up, mentioned, and honored during a resemblance prayer. People come from all around the Amenten realm to see this resemblance in action and in the flesh. I wanted to make it as real as possible. Now, kind of similar to what I began with, the Blake Castle. This is something I thought of in 2020. And there's a story to this, how this originated, and I'm going to tell you. But I will not name the person because this, like 2020, the year that shall not be named, this person shall not be named. I have not shared this with you yet, but I will share it now. When I was doing remote learning because of COVID in the fall of 2020, I was taking a history class, 20th century world history class, and there was the teacher teaching history. However, there was a student teacher that came. I didn't see it on the syllabus. I didn't have any clear warning before I started the class that there would be a student teacher, and I watched the video and wanted to live in the reality of this is just another video she found online, this person explaining things. But I felt that the student teacher kind of took over, and the teacher did not step up to the plate and run the class, and he kind of took over, and I did not like him for that. Like, there's nothing wrong with him and everything, but when I found out he was a Scorpio sun, I was like, well, I have the right to feel that way because, well, part of it is my south node's there, but anyway, I shouldn't be like that to people regardless of their sun sign. But I just felt like he was just taking over. That's how I felt, and so I felt that he deserved to go to this, island, which is like the season of the witch, island where it was like stormy and it was like an island in the middle of the sea and nowhere. So let's read about it. The island is represented by the term banishment. Like there's a song, banish him to the sea, do do do, do do do. Like that's the song. Okay, so we're kind of getting toward kind of the end here. Maybe I'll do one more part of this, who knows. When someone is cast out of the Amenten realm society, like someone like Blackman Lilith in astrology, how she said no and how she did something that everyone rejected, and she was just cast out. I don't know much about Lilith, but I do know that. So when someone is cast out of the Amenten, realm society because they did something wrong, or like they really did something wrong, they could either be sent to Blake Castle, or they could be sent to this island out into the sea. So Blake Castle came first, then the island. This is secondary to that. Like, this would have to be something really severe. Very, very severe for them to be alone in a prison on an island in the middle of a stormy sea. And is banished to an island, yes, as I've just said. There are many valuable reasons why someone could deserve this isolated and intolerable state. They might have said something offensive or did something vile. Whatever it turns out to be, it is well deserved. It's kind of cold to say that, but it is true. Like, the truth hurts. You said this and did this really, really bad thing and said this is the consequence for your action. Like, it's very Saturnian. Like, this is, you reap what you sow. This is what your circumstances are now. You would have to be super mean or super wrong to end up in this state. And in this place, someone could push a wall over or get into a highly heated debate with someone in order to end up on this island, like do something really, really severe. And when someone ends up on this island, they're completely cut off from everyone, their family, their friends, and their loved ones. Can you imagine them doing something wrong and being on an island, all alone, in a prison, trapped, nowhere to go, no one to talk to except the others who were banished there? Like, that is sad. That is sad. I will say that's the truth of it. That is sad. But that's how it was, and that's how I came up with it. So they essentially are in prison for their wrongdoings. People could view these individuals as toxic, insolent, rude, cunning, and a bunch of other dire adjectives. Okay, that's the island in the sea. Let's talk about the people who run the Amenten headquarters. There's people that run the Amenten headquarters. There's people that manage the Amenten headquarters, and they are messengers. And if I didn't say this in the writing, messengers literally carry out a scroll or something like written out of a message, and they go to the Amenten like, I'm delivering a message to you. Like, it's very mercurial. Like, Mercury is the messenger. Mercury sends information. An Amenten official is a messenger. Who runs the Amenten headquarters, that is. Okay. So, I am inaccurate with astrology here when I say that Amenten officials are messengers of the zodiac wheel to the Amenten realm. They send messages from the Amenten headquarters directly to the Amenten leaders and people of certain. So they send messages to Amenten leaders and people of certain. Amenten officials carry a highly important duty that they need to follow and abide by, for they are vital to all the Amentens. Like, it is their duty. They do this out of duty. They don't do this out of want or motivation. Like, they do this because they have to do this. They sign a contract. Like, this is their duty. This is their responsibility, so they fall in line with it. These messages that they carry out in scrolls are now computer-printed words, so no one has to worry about how neat the handwriting is. Because let's face it, my penmanship is pretty good, but I read others and it's like, not very neat. I think my penmanship is very, very good. Makes that part of who I am. The Amenten headquarters creates these messages. They create the messages, and the officials of the Amenten headquarters comes to the Amentens and informs the Amenten leaders of these messages. Sometimes these messages could come from the various Amentens in the realm, not just from the Amenten headquarters. So from, other officials from other Amentens could come deliver messages to other Amentens. Like, this very, very common thing in the Amenten realm. How do you get people to come to the Amenten? How do you get all these guests to actually want to go there? How do you get them to go there? Because everyone has lives. Everyone lives their own lives. And, does all of these things. And so, you can't just get anyone to go to the Amenten. You have to make them. You have to invite them in a kind of way which they would be drawn to. So let's talk about the invitation letter. The message on this card is take advantage of opportunities. Like, this is an opportunity that you're being presented with. This is an opportunity to make the most of this by putting yourself to the Amenten world. You'll be celebrated for who you are. You'll be honored for who you are. Like, you are celebrated for who you are as a person in the Amentens. That's the whole idea. And now it's more authentic than ever. It's more of an authentic way rather than a superficial character way. Like, now, it's where people are celebrated for who they are. Very Aries Leo energy. The Amenten is, I think it is an Aquarius, if I had to put a chart to it, even though it may be, well, maybe a Libra or Virgo, because I came up with it in September. But anyway, take the invitation letter. Let's read about it. This is magic. The invitation letters come to the Amenten guests through magic. There is no clear explanation of how the letters come to them. Like, it's not clear to them how the letters come to them. Like, it's not clear. But they do come. In it, the Amenten leader or the Amenten head official of that Amenten wrote to the guests and invite them. Like, I invite you to come because of these reasons and all these kind of things like that. And I'm going to get into some more specifics that you're going to be very, very interested in later. Okay. So did I cover this? Okay. And here's the thing that I did not cover. It's conditional. It is conditional because it's the projection of the Amenten leader. They're conditioned. Wear these certain clothes. Play this certain character. Talk in a certain voice. do all these things that they were conditioned into because it's the Amenten leader who invited them in. So the Amenten leader wants to see the version of them that's the reason why they are inviting them to the Amenten. So it's a conditional thing, and they're like, I don't want to do that. Like, would you want to do that if somebody expected you to do all these things? No, you wouldn't. So something has to happen because of that. Became very, very, like it used to be very unevolved, but quickly became very evolved in this sense. So let's read more on that. There is a magic spell put onto the letters to ensure that those guests come, no matter what. Well, even though you reject the letter, even if you put it away, there's something magical on that where you reject it and then you're just convinced into going there. It is clearly about the Amenten leader and whom they want to invite. After reading the letter, the Amenten guest suddenly feels compelled to pack up their stuff because of the magic of that letter. They could be in a business meeting. They could be performing on stage. They could be in their house comfortable in their pajamas. They suddenly get up. This letter is magic. This letter makes them get up, pack all their stuff, go right to the Amenten. Just immediately. And head into the Amenten realm. They simply have to say magic words to open the portal to the realm. Oh, now it gets magical. There's a portal. You want to throw in the portal. You have the letter, you move it around, whatever you do, and then a portal opens and you just step into that and then boom, you're there. Technically they arrive in my driveway in my house and they go inside the house, and that's how I made it out to be because it's realistic, but I only came up with this later on. And they go through it and the Amenten realm is where they end up. So that's the invitation letter. Now, this has some very, very important meaning to it. The mailbacks. I discussed this on the Venus and Capricorn live stream that I did. The message here, things take time. Patience is a virtue. Very, very powerful Taurus lesson that I have a Taurus North Node and I'm learning. Patience is a virtue. Yep, taking things slow, taking your time, very, very important. The mailbacks are a place where the wine grows up. This is a wine place. This is a place filled with, wine vineyards. This may be one of the last ones that I'll get to here, and then I'll just stop this because it's getting too long. The mailbacks are a place where, the wine, grows up, if you will, where the wine is aged. The wine is harvested from vineyard grapes that are put in buckets and turned into wine. The mailbacks are basically a place in Northern California where, in Northern California, where there is, where people are coming home from their trips or whatever. It's like a place with games and activities where people can entertain themselves and do all that. So, okay. So the wine is harvested with vineyard grapes that are put in the buckets and turned into wine. If a connoisseur of wine thinks that the wine is rough around the edges, they may give it a couple more years to age. Like, wine takes time. It's not an overnight process. Like, you age wine and then you test it. And then you age it for more years. That's what you do with wine to get the perfect flavor that it needs. I came up with this in 2017 when I was watching all these cooking shows. And even before then in 2014, 2015 is when 2014 is when that was the year that it started. A little bit before then, but anyway. The mailbacks existed in Northern California, but in the Amenten realms, as this is not an actual place in the world today, let's just claim that here and now. The mailbacks are for people especially who are returning home to find a resting place to stop and enjoy the company. There are music rooms, gaming rooms, and other rooms full of entertainment. There is even a special game where you take a certain amount of time to explain kitchen samples. And I deleted this video. Basically, the game is where you take kitchen samples, and you basically explain, do your best to say like a knowledge test, like this kitchen staple, what does this kitchen staple do, and you're expected under a time limit to explain this kitchen staple does this. This is the function of this kitchen staple. So that's the function of that game. Okay, this is long enough. This is part 4 of this. Look forward to part 5, where I will be talking about a rounder bench, which is going to be about, we're on card number 44 now, so we're kind of getting close to the end, but we're approaching the end. So a rounder bench, that is going to be the next beginning of the next part of the next part of this series. So anyway, that's it for now, and I will see you on part 5.